Hello and welcome to my Python series. In this video I'm going to teach you strings in Python. But before we get into the actual coding, let me show you what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to cover how to assign a string object to a variable. We're going to cover indexing, how to slice a string, the start, stop and step size, immutability of strings, calling methods on variables. We have to, touch, split, len, find, sorted, and many more. Then concatenation, covering multiplication and addition. Then print formatting with string. So these are the basic things you should know when it comes to strings. There are a lot, but these are the basic things you should know. But please, I have a request before we get into the actual coding. I have a request, please. I am in a race. Let me repeat it again. I am in a race, please. In a race to hit 1 million subscribers. Currently at 71. Your help is needed, please. Right now on your screen, you can see by the right hand side below your screen, you can see this red subscribe button. Please help me click. Clicking on it will, it will help me a lot. Subscribe to the channel, support me in this race, and let's hit 1 million subscribers in no distant time. So let's get into the video. Thank you. So here is my IDE, my integrated development environment. I'm using Python. So let's go ahead and create our file. Our Python file. So right click, Python file. I will call it strings.py. The py is an extension that tells the interpreter that this is a Python file. So you must add it. So here we are. Then what are strings in Python? Strings are sequences of characters enclosed in either double quotes or single quotes. But when we have multiple lines of strings, we enclose that with we enclose them in triple quotes. But in this video, we're going to cover only the single and the double quotes of it. So let's have a look at our list. We have assigning a string object to a variable. So let's have a variable name and a string object David enclosed in single quotes. Then let's print name. That will give us David, but let's change that to double quotes. We're gonna get the same result, David. But what happens when we have something like, let's have a sentence, say variable name is equal to, it is good to be nice. It is good to be nice. You can see we're having an error here. Our intention is to start the quote from here and then close it here. But because of the apostrophe before S, the interpreter doesn't know what to do with this part, because this particular apostrophe has closed this string for us. So how do we resolve this? We can do this. We have two ways to do this. We can use what we call escape character, the escape character backslash to do that. We do that by placing that backslash before the character we want to escape. So we want to escape the apostrophe, you put the backslash, and that is it. So when we print name, we have, well, no, when we print sentence, no, not name, sentence, we have, it is good to be nice. So another way to solve this is just to remove this backslash then enclose everything in double quotes, and that will solve this problem, as you can see. So that is it for assigning a string object to a variable. This David is a string object. We assign that to this variable name. So second part is indexing. Indexing starts from 0. Let's say we want to get the character at index 0. That should give us D. So if you want to index this variable, that means that the first character will be at index 0. The second character will be at index 1. The third one will be at index 2. The fourth one will be at index 4. Index 3, and the fourth one will be at index 4. So this first one will be at index 0, D. A will be at index 1. V will be at index 2. I will be at index 3. D will be at index 4. Indexing starts from 0, not from 1. D can never start from 1. So that is indexing. So let's get that value out. Let's say name. For indexing, we use square brackets. Index 0. Let's see what we have. That will give us D. At index 1, that will give us A. At index 2, that will give us V. At index 3, that will give us I. At index 4, that will give us D. So remember that indexing starts from 0, not 1. You can't give the first character 1, the second character 2, the third character 3, the fourth character 4, and the fifth character 5. No, we start with first character 0, second character 1, and so on. So that is it for indexing. So this third part is slicing a string. So let's slice this. Slicing means getting a subsection of a string, a subsection of a string. So let's get a subsection, like let's say, let's get only AVI from this string. What we can do here is we say, okay, AVI, or before we do that, let me show you something. When you say, when we do something like this, all the way to 2, all the way to 2, it means all the way from 0 index to 3, but excluding 3. The stop index is always excluded when you try to print. When we talk about this slicing, always know that the stop index is not included. Is not included. We can go all the way to that stop index, but excluding that stop index. So when we print this, we have that. So dev, we have D is at 0 index, A is at 1, V is at 2, I is at 3. You can see we didn't print that 3. The character at index 3 is not printed. That is the stop index. Always is not included. Go up to that index, but exclude it. So we can have something like, okay, print from index 0 to index 2. Remember, stop index is index 2. Excluding index 2. From index 0 to index 2, but excluding index 2. When we run this, we have DA. Then what about minus? If you want to go backward, D is -1. I is -2. That means the last index is always -1. The second to the last, -2, -3, -4, -5. So let's print -1. That will give us D. -2 will give us I, and so on. So what about when we do something like this? all the way from the beginning to the end, step size 2. By default, when we say, let's say we add let's add 1 here. Let me show you something. You say we have the same David. By default, the step size is 1 by default, because it means print D, then step size of 1. Print A, step size of 1, again V. But when we add 2 here, we get TVD, because print all the way from the beginning to the end, step size 2. So we first print D, then step size 2 we mean AV, 2 characters. Then we print the last one, D. Then another step size, ID, 2 characters. We print the last one, D. So what about if you want to reverse this string so that we have D, this lowercase d first, I second, D, A and B. We can just add -1 here, and that will reverse the string. And we have divide. So that is it for slicing. Then immutability of strings. A string is said to be immutable when you cannot rewrite the individual elements. You can't reassign the individual elements. Let's say this David, we want to change David to P. That doesn't work with string. That means, let's say, and David, this D is at index 0. So we say name at index 0. That means David. Let me print this now, so that let me comment that out. Print. So you can see D. But when you say, when you want to assign that, when you want to change that to P, name at index 0 is equal to P, it doesn't work. It will not work for you. Let me remove this and let me show you what it will. No, it was okay before, but I have to put this in quotes. Let me say name at index 0 is equal to P. So when you run this, it will show you this message: string object does not support item assignment. You can't change once it is defined. Once we have it, once we have a string defined, you can't change the individual elements. But what you can do is to give that variable a new string. Like we can say, okay, name is equal to Ali. In this case, we are good to go. When you print name, I have to comment this out. When we print name, it will give us Ali. That is it for immutability of strings. You can't change the individual elements. But what you can do is to reassign, to give it the variable a new string, like what we did here. So that is it for this. Then calling methods on variables. So we can split. Let's say we have David, we have Ali, and we have Ben. Then when we call split on this variable, split, let's see what we get. I have to comment this out. Names. Then let's run it. So we can see when you call a split method on a variable, it will give you a list, not a string. You can see now we have this. This is a list. This is not a string. This is a list of names. is no longer a string, it's a list of names. We have not covered list here. We're going to cover that after the string. So here, what happens here is that we have an issue here now. You can see we have comma here, another comma, comma, and another comma. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be like that. We should have one comma. This one is what we should have, this. So you have to tell the split method where to split your string. So let's split wherever we see comma. Wherever we see comma, we split. So we say, okay, wherever is comma, split. When we do that, we get it solved. You can see David, Ali, Ben. You can use this to tell the split method where to, let's say, split wherever is an A. You can see David. After David is split again and remove that A, then we have Vid. Then Ali, you can see this is a capital A, it's not a small a, it's case sensitive, so it will not split because this is not the same as this. And then Ben. That is it for split method. Then we have len. Let's use only David this time and around, and then get the number of characters. So we use the len method to get the number of characters in a string. So when we run this, it's not them. We have 5 characters. This is not indexing now. This is just number of characters we have. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 characters. If you add something at the back, even a number enclosed in quotes is always a string. Is no longer a number. So when we run this, we have 6 characters. That is it for len. Then what about sorted? When we have sorted, so we have something like let's say name dot sorted let me use sorted first. I just want to check something. Sorted, the name, what will it give us? You can see sorted name. What happens here? It will sort it alphabetically. When you use sorted, it will sort a string alphabetically. But look at what happens here now. Look at what is happening. Should D come first before A in alphabetical order? No. But in Python, capital letters take the first position in terms of arranging something alphabetically. All the capitals will take the first position. So this shouldn't be the first character in alphabet, but because of the law in Python, that is what we see here as the first on the list. Then before A, before D. If we change this to D, the 2 D's will come first. We change this to capital D, the 2 of them will look at what happens here. We have DD, then before A, I, and D. So that is what you should note here as well. So the last one here is the find method. But before then, let's do something here. Let's change this David to all uppercase. We can do something like name dot upper. You can see when you use that dot, we use dot to call method on a variable. You can see a lot of methods, a lot of functions we can call on this variable. There are a lot, so you can learn them later on your own. We can't cover everything here. So when we use upper, then it will change everything to uppercase. When we use lower, it will change it to lowercase, as you can see. So let's assume we have only D, small d here, and to change that D to capital letter, we use dot title. That will have, it will work. Or we can use dot capitalize. That way work as well. So let's run it and see. So we have it. So that is it for calling methods on variables. Then concatenation, we can do something before concatenation. Let's do concatenation before we do find method. So for concatenation, we can do something like, we can say, okay, name times 5, 3. So this will print David 3 times, as you can see. If you want a space to be there, you can do something like space. You can do plus, then space, plus, another space. So when we do something like this, no, let me see, I made a mistake here. So name times 3, we have David. Let's see what will happen. Let me see what I have here. So addition 2. So we can, before then, let me say, okay, age is equal to 36 or 46. Age plus age so you can see can only concatenate string, not int to string. You can't concatenate string to integer because age is integer. You can't do that. In order to concatenate string to integer, you have to convert that integer to string. So in that case, we have to convert it with ctr in bracket. This will work now. So when we run this, we have David plus 46. So we are adding two strings together. But you can't add a string and an integer together. So you have to convert that integer to string in order to add them together. So that is it for this part. Then let's see what we have here. Find method. This find method will lead us to formatting. So let's assume we have here we have a substring. We create a substring from that string name, and that substring is D. So we can say if substring, that means if D is in name, if substring in name, print found. Else print not found. So let's run this code and see what we can. So we got, because we have D in this string, it prints found. Well, let's change this to T. As you can see, we don't have a T in this string. When we print that, it says not found. But let's assume that, okay, let's say David is 46 years old. Let's print that. When we have, let's say if this string contains D, let's print David is 46 years old. So we can do something here. Now we are going into the formatting methods like dot format and f string. We're going to cover these two methods, the dot format and the f string. String interpolation. That is another name for them. So here we say David, this curly bracket will represent David is, this one will represent the age, 46 years old. Dot format. Then this first curly bracket will take the first thing here, we take the position of the first curly bracket. The second thing we take this second curly bracket. So the second thing here is age. You can see these are variables, we don't enclose them in quotes. So when we run this, David is 46 years old. So let's say, for example, we want to include another this curly bracket for years, then and add something like this, years. Since years is not a variable, is a string, we have to enclose that in quotes. So when we run this, what do we see? David is 46 years old. So name takes the first curly bracket. The first thing here we take the first curly bracket. The second we take the second curly bracket. The third we take the third curly bracket. So here now, let's say we have age, years here instead of age. So we have years here, then comma, then we have age. We have age. So when we run this, what happens? We say David is years 46 old. The sentence is not correct. We can't say David is years 46 old. What happens here is that name takes the first one. As I said, the first thing here we take the first curly bracket. Second we take, that is why we have years second, then before age. But you can, if you want to leave it like this and change the order, you can change the order while leaving it as it is. Remember what I told you about indexing. Indexing starts from 0. So in this case now, name we take index 0, years we take index 1, and age we take index 2. So you can say, okay, since name takes index 0, we add 0 here for name. Then years takes index 2. Then we can take years takes index 1 and age takes index 2. So we can use index 2 for age. So this now, we, instead of being age, which is index 1, we change it to 2 so that we get age first before years, and we have this 1. When we do this, we have David is 46 years old. So you can do something. That is one good thing about this format method. There is another way we can do this by saying, okay, name, n is for name, n is equal to name. Then we can say, okay, y we represent years and a we represent age, something like this. Then what you should do then is change this to n for name, y for years, and a for age. When we run this, this is what we get. David is okay. Age is a. You come. This is a, and this should be y. So when we run this, we get David is 46 years old. So that is it for this format method. So to get let's make use of f string now. For f string, you start with f. That is why it is called f string. We start with f, then the quotes. So here you can see, you can add this variable inside the quotes. We can have this inside the quote. That means name, which is David, is then age, David is 46 years old. You can have it this way. When we print this, we have the same outcome. David is 46 years old. This is how F string works. For F string, you will add the variables inside the quotes. You know, previously for the format method, the variables and the other strings we can place outside the quotes, but in this sense we can leave them inside the quotes. So that is it for F string, and that is it for this video. There are a lot of things we can, you know, touch when it comes to string, but it's not possible to cover it. It will take us hours. But that is it for this video. If you think that there is something that I didn't cover, or there is maybe I made a mistake somewhere, just let me know. Just write on the comment section down below, and I will take care of that. So that is it for this video. I will see you in my next video, which is I'm gonna cover list. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to support me in this race to hit 1 million subscribers very soon. Thank you, and God bless.